thanks for coming. My name is Brian Shaw. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm on faculty here at the theater department, as some of you know. Welcome. I'm going to do my spiel partly for the lovely recorder right here, and for posterity, in other words, right? Welcome to Keeping It Going, Life After Theater School, presented by the Artistic Council of the Sarah Siddons Society. And I know, Lauren, you're wondering what the Sarah Siddons Society is, aren't you? Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now. It is an organization currently celebrating its 70th year of existence, and its mission is to fund scholarships to promising. So you're now obviously of promise.
Honored.
You're theater arts students at top Chicago area universities, including, strangely enough, this one right here, the Theater School of DePaul College, Chicago College of Performing Arts at Roosevelt, and Northwestern. Siddons Society also supports the Black Ensemble Theater in Chicago. Anybody else we give money to, Marty?
Not currently.
Okay. Sometime soon.
Pizza card.
Yes.
And you, with your card for Lou Malnati's. The Artistic Council was established recently in 2021, and its mission is to act as a conduit between the Sarah Siddons Society Board of Governors, recent Sarah Siddons Society scholarship recipients, and members of the Chicago area professional theater community to offer mentoring, networking, and guidance. A recent panel we did was focused on responses made by individual artists to the industry's shifting impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll be hosting a virtual version of tonight's panel on March 22nd with recent grads from Northwestern and Columbia who've moved out of Chicago to pursue work in other cities. So if you're interested in Atlanta, New York especially, we don't have an LA person on that yet. We should. Oh, are you out there?
I'm doing both.
Oh, cool. Excellent. You'll probably speak to it today. Other panels we're planning include a session focused on institutional changes in arts organizations over the past few years. Kaiser Ahmed from Jackalope Theater and Chris Carter-Brown from the Mercury will anchor that conversation. And we're also putting together a panel focusing on teaching theater, looking at college university teaching, high school teaching, and the work of the teaching artist. So a bunch of stuff coming up, which is great. Keeping It Going offers a dialogue with recent theater school grads, working professionals, covering topics including best resources to find work / collaborators, financial stability versus creative pursuits, what is different out there from what you learned at school, and creating your own work and building partnerships. So that's informing tonight's panel. We came up with a series of questions and asked our guests to respond to 2 or 3 of the questions from the list. So each of our panelists will talk for about 10 minutes to outline their experience and the discoveries they've made since graduating from university. And then we'll open up the space to questions you have and engage in a more fluid conversation. Cool? So I'm going to introduce the people now. So this is Lucas Luch Johnson. He's a French-American actor, drummer, writer, producer who has an authentic passion. It's authentic for connecting with people through the art of performance. Past projects include Theater 100 Days, like Candy with Candy, Peter and the Starcatcher with Big Noise Theater, Murdering Macbeth, that bastard deserves it, with Fearless Fiction Productions, film Lacey's Christmas Do-Over, Sour Patch, The Big Leap, and Right, Bitch. Chloe Baldwin is a graduate of the theater school at DePaul and is currently understudying 2 tracks in Mary Zimmerman's Notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci at Goodman Theater. Went on yesterday.
Yeah.
After recently playing Perdita there in The Winter's Tale. More clapping. Chicago credits include productions of Remy Bumpel, Oak Park Festival Theater, Backroom Shakespeare Project. She appeared in the first U.S. national tour of The Women in Black from the West End. Oh, cool. Oh, The Woman in Black.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Film and TV include Widows. I was in Widows.
You were not. That's so cool.
Utopia, Code Switch, The Immediate Unknown, and the upcoming Shining Girls. She's also a fight choreographer and a stunt woman. Shares time between Chicago and L.A. And yes, Owen is represented by Stuart Talent. Sarah Cohen is an actor, director, and creative from Mexico, living here in Chicago. Graduated from Columbia College, and since appeared in plays. What have you?
I'm sorry, I was very non-specific.
You were. Yeah. So what have you appeared in?
Oh gosh, I have to think about things and put on the spot.
Yeah.
It's too much for me. I can't do
All right.
it.
And short films in the Chicagoland area. Most recently started and co-produced a short entitled Even Saints Bleed with the generous support of a Chicago Filmmakers Grant. So that's who is with us today. So I'm gonna let you all, so thank you. For sure. So yeah, feel free to speak to your thing.
Is that what we're going into?
Do you want to start yelling?
Oh, it got so dramatic in here.
Right?
Yeah.
I love it.
What's up, everybody? I got my notes here to keep me on track. Hopefully this works
Like a
well.
detective.
Right. So I'm originally from Texas. I'm a French American actor. My mom is French, my dad's American, and I've always tried to kind of seen the world differently for those reasons. You know, I've experienced a lot of things, and I find that that's a fun way to explore through life, you know, and it just made me curious about the arts. And I think that one of the biggest things I want to touch on is just like opening up your artistic view to like how much is out there, you know, whether that be different mediums of art and whether that be how you produce art, how you do art, all of that has always been interesting to me. I don't know why I talked about that, but here we go. So one of the questions that was asked to us was resources and like how we find auditions and how we move about life and to do the work that we want to do. I'm represented by DDO Artist Agency in Chicago. I've been with them since senior year of college, and that's a phenomenal resource to get auditions and all of that, obviously. But apart from that, I found that networking is the biggest thing. I'm going to speak mostly here, I think. Right? I'll tell you, networking is the biggest thing that I found that works. And I'm sure we'll all talk about that to a certain extent. But most of the gigs that I've gotten have been through, I know this person, and I have, hung out with this person who is going to be directing this thing, and that's how that works, and in the room, being a good person and being a person that just people want to be around, and just being a human being. That has always led me to more work personally. So I think like the greatest resource of being able to consistently work or work to whatever level you want to is being a good person, doing your job well, and showing up on time. Obviously, all those things, but just do those regular things, and it seems to work out, pretty well. For me, at least. I don't know. We'll see down the line, but for me. They asked us a question about how do you say what projects do you say yes and no to, and how do you pick what projects you want to do. And I think that in college it was very much like what's presented to me and what do I think best suits who I am at that moment, which is totally fine, I think. And it's great to explore that and push your boundaries in school. And but since the pandemic, I found that I'm choosing projects based on what it means. What is it saying in the world right now? Because we live in a wild time, so I want to make sure whatever message I'm putting out there matters. So that's always the first thing for me. What is it saying? What does it mean? Why now? Two, who is working on it? Is this a director I wanted to work with? Is this a company I wanted to work with? What's the reputation? All of that good stuff. And then three, it's really about like, will this feed my artistic hunger? Like I'm a big believer in, I don't want to just do a job because it's a job, I think at a certain point I moved on from that, and I was just like, I want to do things that fulfill me. And those things have come into my lap. The more, with putting out there, these are the things I like to do. These are the, I'm practicing these things that I like to do. It comes back to you. The universe is a weird way of working that way, where it's like, like I just did this show called 100 Days with Coke Candy, and I was able to act, sing, and drum on stage at the same time, which is three things that I love to do, that I like, my favorite things to do. It's how did this fall in my lap, because I don't know, I just put it out there. So whatever you love to do, remember it, say it, do it, and somehow I believe that the universe finds its way to put it right into your lap, and you get to like fully explore those things. So I think I answered that question. I'm gonna move on because I don't even know what time I'm on.
I'm learning something.
Making your work and collaborating. I think that's huge, y'all. Like, there is no reason that you should not be working all the time when it comes to the arts. Like, if you have friends who want to do a film or make music or even sit and paint, based on what's going on, or write a script, there's always something to do. And we're all actors here? Okay, awesome. I find that practicing in everyday life makes it to where when you walk into an audition room or you walk on stage and like that, this is what I do already. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying you won't be nervous. I'm not saying anything like that. But the more you do it in everyday life, it's like basketball players. They shoot threes every day before practice, right? So that way, when it's time for game time, they don't have to worry about their threes. They throw it up and they got it in. You know, it's the same idea. Like, me and my roommates will write together. We'll film stuff together, little shorts, longer things, anything. So that way, the moment it's time to walk into an audition room, I'm like, oh, I'm just here to play. We're gonna do this, and it's gonna be fun, and then I'm gonna leave. And if you like me, great. If you don't, great to meet you. I had fun. You know, switching that mentality was huge for me. I think in school I didn't have that mentality, which is fair. But as time went on, that little tiny switch just relieves pressure off of you. And it's also enjoyable. Who doesn't like hanging with friends and, you know, filming a short film or this or that? It's a good time, I think. So definitely do your own work and collaborate. And it's a great way to meet people, and it's all around good time. How did my education prepare me? Very much so. School is such a sacred ground, and it's a place for you to fail with a safety net. For me, that's the biggest thing. You'll have arms here to hold you whenever you fail. You know, whether that be you go up on a line or whether that be you're late for class, whatever it is. You know, it seems dire. It seems like the worst thing in the world, but in the end, it's just teaching you lessons to move on, and those lessons are so invaluable. You know, and I think that taking advantage of the time while you're here to really throw things to the wall and really go big and fail hard and try the biggest things, whether it be in a scene, a song, or dance, whatever, now is the time to do it, because when you do that in the real world, if you fail, the consequences are different. And I don't mean like in a negative way, it's just, it is different, you know? Here, your teacher might be like, hey, that was awesome, thanks for throwing that, try it this way, you know? Real world, it might be different. So it's just a safe space for you to do all these things, and I think that taking advantage of that space while you're here is so, so important. I don't have any regrets about my school experience, but if I look back, I think I definitely would have gone a little bit bigger and thrown things bigger, you know? Just, that's the way it is, you know? So, I don't know what I wrote here. Education prepares safety net, networking. Oh, and then networking. You meet so many people here. And so many of the people you're going to meet here are going to be doing the next big things in the city. Whether that be, you know, the film programs or the theater programs, anything. They are going to be, like a handful, all of them are going to be working, doing the thing. So meeting people, getting to know people, working with people here, they're at your fingertips. They're at your fingertips. Your teachers here, they work in the city, you know, all of that. Two of the directors and teachers that I had in school got me my first gigs out of the city, and then through meeting people through those gigs is how I got my next gigs and my next bookings. So I think it's not dire, but it's the easiest way to do it. You have it right here. Yeah, that's the end of my list. I'm sure more will come up later, but
Yes.
that's what I got.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I'm gonna just look at my clock, and that's how I'll track when I should stop talking.
Nice. I should've done that.
Let's see. Okay, 7:19. Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. So I feel like the first thing I want to say is I agree with so much of what you said, and I feel like some of what I'm going to say is just going to dive in and around what you're saying too. So just to give context of what my life is like a little bit right now, because I think that'll help inform some of what I'm going to say. So I went to school at DePaul. I graduated and then did a lot of fight. I do a lot of fight stuff, so I did a lot of fight choreography and stuff like that in the city here. Networking wise, that's part of how I found some of the people that I ended up working with on the acting side and vice versa. And worked with Stuart Talent to find some stuff, but also similar kind of thing, found a lot of things on my own too, and through my network. And then recently, in the last 6 months, moved to Los Angeles, and so now what I'm trying to do is work on projects here, I can stay with my parents when I'm here, which is great, and then do things in Los Angeles as well, and kind of go like boop back and forth as much as I can. So now I'm doing the show at the Goodman. So that's just like to give context of like what life is like. But yeah, so I think with one of the biggest things that I want to tell y'all that like feels super important, in that I would have wanted to tell myself as I was getting ready to leave school, was I think that school is awesome because it gives you all these different tools for like how to do different things, all these different methods, all these different techniques and things like that. And even just like knowledge of like, there's Brecht, there's Stanislavski, there's like all these different things. But I think that the thing that I wish that I'd gotten back to sooner was remembering that like, and this is gonna sound kind of funny maybe, but like remembering that I'm an artist and remembering that I'm a small business. And I think those two things have kind of, the more that I've leaned into both of those and let them be my like guiding light, the better things have been. So like looking at the LA thing and the Chicago thing, I was like, okay, if I'm a small business, how do I try to like expand into both markets? Like, is there a way for me to not lose this awesome like market that I have in Chicago if I'm marketing myself here, and also be able to do that in LA because I love LA, and all that. And so I'll kind of get into the small business side, and then I'll circle back to the artist side because I think that one's more deep and fun and exciting. So yeah, on the small business side, one of the things that I heard that I was like, oh, I'm gonna use this all the time, is lean into your unfair advantage, which I heard on like a podcast called Startup that was about, these startup companies. And I really like that phrase because for me, it's always been like fight choreography and being physical. And I've also found that at a slightly deeper level, like just below the kind of corporateness of lean into your unfair advantage, there is like, oftentimes your unfair advantage are the things that you're passionate about, or like the specific niche things that you care about most, like or that you like most, or that you're drawn to most. So like I was drawn to fight choreography and physical things, and Shakespeare too is another big one for me. And because I was drawn to them, I ended up spending more time doing them, which meant I got better at them. And I think that's true of a lot of these different niche things. So like, maybe for you, part of it's like organization, or maybe it's, it could be like a plethora of things. Like it could be Chekhov, or it could be filmmaking is another one too. Like whatever that is, I think sometimes people are scared, and I was kind of scared when I got out of school that I should try to be neutral, or like there's part of me that should like try to be as open as possible so you can put me in whatever it is. But I've always had the most success, not only like as a small business, but also as an artist, and also as just a human being who like wants to do things that I like, leaning into the thing that I'm excited about and that is like my unfair advantage, because I'm gonna do better at it because I like it. So I'm gonna put more of my energy into it, and at the same time, people can be like, oh, sword girl, throw her in, so it's kind of been this like nice self-perpetuating cycle, which has been great. And then you end up doing more projects that you're like actually excited about too. So rather than just waiting for the universe to typecast you into something of like, oh, the young mom, go on. Like, I don't want to play the young mom right now. I'm not really interested in that. It kind of empowers me to be like, oh, like, I want to be the tall sword girl. Like, let's do that. So you're kind of creating your own typecast rather than like having that power outside of your hands. And obviously, like sometimes people are gonna try to typecast you into stuff, especially when it comes to like commercial work and stuff. But the more skills that you acquire to like be this person or artist that can do that thing, the more you're gonna do that thing, which is great. And you already have so many of the tools. It's just, like really working that muscle, whatever it is that you really like. Because you already like it, you're like, oh yeah, my biceps, that's what I want to work. And then you're gonna have huge biceps and people are gonna be like, bicep girl, put her in. So I think that's been a big thing on the small business side. Oh, and also on the small business side, the one thing that, just an analogy that's helped me a lot is thinking of it like a video game. Because I kind of get bored when I'm like, a budget, let's make a budget. I'm like, I don't want to think about a budget. So if I think about it like a video game, then I get to think of like leveling up into different levels of my career or my artistry or however I want to think about it. And so like part of it is like, you know, collecting items, like what's happening on this level, like, you know, what do I need? What are my health bars at? So like for me, my health bars are like my finances, my emotional fulfillment, my time and energy that I have, like which of these is getting filled up by the items I'm picking up or the gigs I'm picking up or the side jobs I'm picking up, or, you know, like where is my energy at? And I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with this, but have you ever heard of spoons, like having different spoons of energy for things? If you don't know about spoon theory, totally recommend looking it up. It's just about having different amounts of energy for different things and being able to pour them into it. Like a lot of it is at the beginning of the day being like, how many spoons do I have and what kind of spoons are they and how can I put them into the different things I want to do today? So that's always a good one, especially when you're kind of living this less structured lifestyle than you've been living at school. And that's another big question to ask yourself too, is like, how much structure do I like and how much structure do I need? Because sometimes they don't quite align, but it's always good to ask yourself both of them. Because at school, a lot of times, and depending on your program too, I don't know the exact like structure of your program here, but a lot of times you have a lot of structure. So it's like, okay, I've got a lot of structure. I know what my classes are day to day. I know what assignments I have. So likely when you graduate, there's going to be less structure inherently from the universe that it's giving you. So then if you're someone who craves more structure or needs more structure in what they're doing in order to like get stuff done, which I think a lot of us are, or at least we've trained ourselves that way, then how do you like build that structure for yourself in a way that A, is fun, like it's just fun for you, B, like actually motivates you to do what you're gonna do, whether it's like creating a reward system for yourself or whether it's like, I am very unproductive before 9 a.m. and between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., that's when I get stuff done. I'll schedule the emails for them to send the next morning. You know, like whatever it is, whatever works for you. Like the nice thing about having less structure is that you can build a structure that fits whatever you want it to be. And you can even build your survival job or day job or whatever you want to call it around that. And sometimes part of what feeds you can be that job too. And you know, you're either at the very least it's feeding you financially, but sometimes you can find something too that's like, oh, this feeds like this part of my hobby, or this feeds like I'm learning this thing from it that's going to pour back into my bicep thing, which is always fun. But yeah, so that's the side. That's the business side of it. And then to kind of talk about the artistry side, I think that because when we're in school, we're getting assignments and we're being told like, hey, expand yourself into this area, see what's down this path, like find those different things, and we're getting led by a professor or just by the program in general or just the structure that I was talking about. Which is part of the reason we go to school, is to be like, well, what's outside of myself? Like, how do I find that? Once you're not in this environment and you kind of just have you, it's like exciting, but there's also kind of a drop from it where you feel like, oh, like what, like me, universe, you're asking me like what I want to do, or at least that's how I felt. And so that's the hard part about that. But then the good part about that is getting to kind of have that agency again. And if you can kind of take a deep breath and move through that imposter syndrome, I would almost call it a little bit of, oh, I have the reins now, and this is me, and this is what I want to do. And you know, I think it's hard, especially at first, when you're like, okay, just want someone to give me a job. Please give me an acting job or any sort of arts job or just any job at all would be great. It's hard to be like, okay, but how do I shape my career to be what I want it to be? Because you're just like, I just need the next job. But I think that even when you don't have as much choice as you want because you don't have as many options as you want, knowing once you get to that point where you're like, okay, now I feel like I can choose what choices you want to make, is not only going to make you feel better and more empowered in the moment when you're like, okay, I just need to get to this next level of the video game where I have more choices, but also once you get there, you're going to have less paralysis of like, I don't know what to choose because I haven't thought about this. And I think the even deeper side of it too is just being like, okay, I know what my goals are for myself and my career, and not just on the small business side of it, but also on the like fulfillment, this is why I'm doing this side of it. Once you kind of know what that is, then it really helps your drive in a way that makes it easier to like check Actors Access for the 5th time today, and that makes it easier to like make a move across the country, or makes it easier to like do those kind of practical things or even just do your taxes, like the practical things that you have to do, because it's driven by that deeper drive and like purpose that you had of why you got into this in the first place. And I think checking back in with that, and speaking of checking, let me check how much time I have left. Oh, I have less than time left, so I'm gonna say one thing and then I'm gonna stop talking. Man, that time flew by, okay. That goes into saying yes that you were talking about, Lucas, of like when to know what to say yes to. And I've started saying no to more things lately, which is exciting, of like, what do I say yes and what do I say no to? I think that, man, what was I going to say about this? Now I'm thinking about how little time I have. I think that as you get more in touch with your purpose, even when you're like, it helps you not be as afraid of, oh, if I say no to this, then what's going to come up? Because you didn't want that option anyway, either because it's not going to give you the financial level up of the video game bar you wanted, it's not going to give you the fulfillment level of the video game bar that you wanted, or it's too much on the time side of things. It's going to take away from you. And I think figuring out that kind of triangle of things, and checking in with yourself of like, what do I need right now to get to this next level, or just to get through this month. Taking it 1 month at a time is also a good thing to do, because you can be like, okay, I need this much in rent, I need this much to ride the train, I need this much for food. Can I take on this project that won't give me as much money or whatever it is? Like for the project I'm doing right now, it's going to be a financial wash for sure, between like the flights and paying my rent back in LA. Even though I'm staying with my parents, which is the unfair advantage that I'm talking about, it'll be a wash, but it is so emotionally fulfilling, and I knew it would be because it's something I'd always wanted to work with Mary Zimmerman. The people I'm working with are just great, so it's just all about balance, and it's, you never need to have everything be all the things at the same time, but figuring out what you need and choosing things based on that at any given moment and rechecking in with yourself, I think is the best way to go. So. Yeah. So
let me check my notes.
yes.
Okay. So hi. I graduated from Columbia. I think it was 2018, and I didn't remember that was when I graduated Columbia until earlier today when I was thinking about it. So what is time? It doesn't exist. But I wanted to start talking about like the differences that I found between theater and like being a post-grad, because this is also real life. I had previously said real life, but this is also real life. And it does mirror a lot of what these two have said, where this is definitely a place where you, like throw it at the wall, explore. You are not gonna have as much opportunity to just do things and be able to do all of the things that you would want to do as you are here. So I definitely feel like I took that for granted a little bit while I was here, and I wish that I had done more things. You're never going to regret doing more things, so definitely, if you have time, do more things. And something else that I feel like is a very big difference that I don't really know if I was prepared for, the way that auditions work outside of theater school, because here, like they're just listed on the 3rd floor, and you go look at them and you're like, I don't know. And then you go about your day, as opposed to, outside of it, if it also depends, like if you have agents, if you don't have agents, you won't have the same access to auditions if you don't have an agent. I'm signed with Grossman and Jack Talent, and they're awesome. They send me out on a ton of stuff, but some months I don't hear from them at all. That does not mean that they're not working, but it does mean that I have to do my own research. I have to go on Actors Access or casting networks, and we can talk about more specifics of the actual places that you can find these things. But I downloaded Backstage during the pandemic, so I was like, what's this about? It's my Instagram is telling me to download it because my phone listens to me. So I downloaded Backstage. Be careful. People are shady, so be careful. Like when you're looking for your own stuff, like there's so much work out there, especially in Chicago. Storefront theater is awesome. Go out, audition for a show that's gonna pay you $100 for 4 months of work, but like it's gonna be so worth it. Or maybe it's not. Like measure your spoons, measure your balances. But there's also student films that you can be in, or I've just found a lot of work as well through just word of mouth. Like I worked on this tiny thing here, and then this person was like, oh, you should audition for that thing, and they put in a good word for me. It is a lot about being like showing up, doing a good job. Like you know how to do your job. You're an actor, you're here, you know how to memorize your lines, you know your spots. Like it really is so much less about like, oh my gosh, this person has the most amazing talent I've ever seen. I want to, it's not about that. It's about knowing that you're prepared to do your job, showing up, doing it, being a pleasant person to work with, and just being open to collaborating with people. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of what this art is. And I think that another difference is I wasn't thinking about my career as a business or myself as a business while I was in college. I'm a very flighty person, and I kind of take things as I go. And I wish that I would have been a little bit more strategic and conscious about the next steps that I could take and classes that I could take even after college, because your education does not stop here. You are not gonna, you're gonna show up to a film set and there's gonna be so many things that you don't know, because there's only so much that classes can teach you. A lot of it you'll gain from experience, and you can think about eye lines all day, but when you're in it, it's different. So yeah, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, I ramble. But yeah, I didn't, oh, there we go. I didn't treat myself as a business, and so if you haven't thought about that, start to think about it now, because it's gonna serve you so well in the next couple of years or for the rest of your career. And yeah, as far as, I've done a lot of really small projects for no pay, and that has been some of the most rewarding work, because I've met a lot of really cool people. The only thing I put on my bio, the film that I filmed in the past year, was the person that is producing it and directed it. I met them through a friend, and we did this tiny film that won a bunch of awards and festivals, and then we did more things, and then we got a grant for the film that we just produced, which is a huge deal. I got paid money to be in a film that I produced. It's really awesome. But none of that would have happened if I wouldn't have said yes to taking 2 days out of my weekend, giving other girls my clothes, and gallivanting around Chicago for 2 days. So that's definitely, you never know where things are going to take you. And yeah, I like what you said about the universe, giving back. What else did I want to say? I feel like I'm talking so fast because I'm nervous. Where do you find auditions? I kind of already said that. Oh, but there is something to say about picking something because it's going to build your resume. That's kind of what you want to do in the beginning. A lot of the work that this is more about just how casting works and the weird politics of it. You're not going to get cast in this feature film if you don't have any credits on your resume. I mean, you might, but it's probably not going to happen. So you want to just get credits on your resume. If that's what you want, if you want to be in feature films, then go audition for Chicago Fire 30 times until they cast you, which which is what I'm doing.
Yes.
They keep calling me back, which is a good sign. But that's how it is. Like, you will audition for Claire Simon until she casts you. And when she does, then it'll open up more doors. So don't give up, you know. Don't do it. So yeah, just think about it more. I feel like, I mean, you guys are probably thinking about it. I was just so, you know, like, oh, I'll just figure it out. And like, thankfully, I got agents while I was here for the senior showcase. Do the senior showcase if you can. I'm not sure if that has.
It's still happening.
It's okay, cool. Do it, because you're gonna get seen. If you find an audition, go. You're gonna get seen. Even if you don't get cast, it's good to get seen. It's good to put your face out there. Have people recognize you, know who you are. Play to your strengths. Tall sword girl. I will never forget that for the rest of my life. If I'm ever in a position where I need a tall sword girl or a drummer, I know where to go. Do it. And the last thing I want to talk about is financial stability a bit, because when I first got out of college, I was able to get a job at a nonprofit, and it was really nice because they let me like make my own hours, and they paid me decently, like a livable wage, which I was very thankful for. But it was so emotionally taxing because it was, you know, working with a lot of people that needed resources, that I didn't have enough time to dedicate to classes, or even putting in enough effort for my auditions, or thinking about things intentionally, because I was so drained by the end of the day. So when you're thinking about your day job, it's not easy. Sometimes you need money. But try to find something that will allow you to have the spoons to be creative, to do more work, to be in that show, to film projects with your friends. Because at the end of the day, you need to balance that out. If you do want to be an actor, you don't have the luxury to put all of your effort into your day job. And yeah, I wrote down like stuff about balancing your income, and the pandemic just like fucked everything up. But I think that's a given. Just plan. Make sure that you aren't putting yourself in a bad situation. Safety is very important, not only for when you go audition for weirdos on backstage, but also financial safety for yourself. And give yourself space to be creative. Even after you leave here, where you're not going to have the same opportunity to explore and dive into that creative space, but you'll find it in little moments, and it's going to feel really good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all so much. Hey, y'all, there's a little bit of outside. And if you want to come down, please do. We have Rachel and Moira upstairs, and they've been listening quietly to you. But we're going to bring the housemates up, so if people have questions, please ask questions of these fabulous folks.
Yes.
Because they have lots of information. And there's Maria. Hello. So yeah, who's got questions for these folks? I'll let you field them. I don't need me to field your questions for you.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Start questions first.
Chloe, I'm curious for your recent gig at Goodman.
Yeah.
How did your agent suggest you?
Totally.
Was it open audition? I mean,
Yeah,
how did that process work?
I'll give you the whole rundown. So the first time that I interacted with Mary Zimmerman as an entity was like towards the beginning of the pandemic. I knew that she was going to direct, and now has since been canceled, the Odyssey at Looking Glass. So I emailed someone. This is crazy. This like goes to show you the networking thing. I emailed someone that was in a play that I understudied at Remy Bumpo, who is now working as like the assistant casting person at Looking Glass. And I said, I would love to send in a tape for this. he was like, we don't even know what we're gonna have people tape yet, so here's the script, pick what you want, send it back. I was like, great. So I made this like 7-minute video of like different scenes and me doing quarterstaff and like all this stuff for the Odyssey, sent it to them. I don't even know if she ever saw it because I know the show was canceled, so like maybe she saw it, maybe she didn't, but maybe she heard my name once in passing, don't know. And then I got the video audition through my agents in the fall, and I recorded a self-tape based on notebooks, and it was for the production they were doing at Goodman. I got called back, and so I was in Los Angeles at the time, so I flew back here on my own dime. I also, if you want to work in multiple markets, I highly recommend getting a credit card that does airline miles as soon as possible. That helps me. That has been the boon of the last year of my life. It's been amazing. So did that, flew back, did the callback, flew back to LA, and then got the question from my agents of like, would you be interested in understudying? And it was like one of the first times I'd said no recently to asking if I wanted to understudy something else. And so they were kind of like, do you want to understudy it? And for this, I kind of had to weigh it, and I was like, I would want to do this for Mary Zimmerman. And so I said yes, and then waited a long time, and then found out like a month and a half before rehearsals started that the show was on and not canceled, which was great, and that they wanted me to understudy, which was great. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I'll never quite know how much like different instances of that fed into me getting that job. Like the Looking Glass thing, I'm like, oh, I wonder if she saw it. And I've never asked her, but yeah, that was kind of the process. Yeah.
I'd like to touch on something about just at the end
Yeah.
of what you said. Like in this business, I think get used to not knowing how things happen. You know,
Such a good
yeah,
point.
everything's a mystery. Like you'll get a random call being like, "Come in." You're like, "How did you hear about me?" Like it's really one of those things. So more times than not, you'll know, but a lot of times it'll be a mystery of how things go down, and you just have to like kind of roll with the punches, I think.
Yeah.
And that also was something you said during your portion where you just have to go into the audition, do it, and then leave, and then just blank slate, erased, you're done.
Yeah.
Like you do not think about that audition until they contact you, because they won't tell you no.
Yeah.
You'll just get ghosted.
And sometimes it's really hard not to.
Yeah.
I have
And that's okay,
a
too.
tradition where when I leave out, if I have sides or something like that, I rip it and throw it in the trash.
I do the same thing. I do the
Yes.
same thing.
Just
It helps
as
so
a
much.
I
Physical
have
way
some
of doing
sides
it.
that I have to rip up at home
There
right
you go.
Yes.
Honestly, it's a way of like just capping it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, this might be a personal question, but I'm a fifth of the student audience, so I feel okay.
Do it.
Snaps to you, audience. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, so stunt. I mean, I love it. I'm interested. What can you do?
Yes.
I was not trained in fighting growing up, but I was raised on the gymnastics circuit, and I was.
That's great.
You're fun.
You can stunt.
You got
You
it.
can
I
stunts
was
then. They will
pre-Olympic
stunt you.
Until I was 11, and then my knee went the wrong way.
No,
That's
that's
upsetting.
It's okay
bad.
now, it goes the right way. But yeah, it was fun, and then I came here and I joined the fight club. Shout out to Rachel.
Yes. Fight Club?
I lead the medieval combat team on campus.
Oh my god, do you have any
Hey.
friends? That's so cool.
She's our
We can
sort
go to
of
the soup hall right now. I'll show you the swords.
I would love that. Okay, great. We can do only eat pizza.
Utensil.
Yeah, but I love it for stage, and I never thought I could do it for stage.
Yes.
It's always presented as this film thing.
Yeah.
You know, so what is the deal with that?
Oh my god. Okay, so these are the Chloe's 3 steps to being stunts humans. I would say find a fight choreographer in town that you really like, either because you worked with them on something or because you just saw their work in something, and then either like talk to them in person because you already know them, or send them an email and be like, "Hello, it is I. I know your work from this, or I know you through this person. I would love to shadow you on an upcoming production that you have, and just follow you around, carry your swords, and learn from what you're doing." You, wherever you're at with your spoons financially, you can be like, you don't have to pay me, or be like, this is my stipend rate, or however you want to do it is totally fine. Whatever you can do is good. And just be like, I would love to learn from you. And even if you're like, I couldn't afford to be there for the whole production time-wise, just be like, could I shadow you for a couple days and just see what you do? Or like, could I get coffee with you and talk to you about what you do? And like that's what I did in college was just apprentice myself basically to these two fight choreographers that I love and just followed them around with swords for 4 years. And eventually they were like, okay, choreograph the scene. And eventually, like, you know, I just kind of became part of what they were doing. And that was a great way to not only like be in rooms at theaters that were doing plays that do a lot of fights. So now you're like, oh, I know that this theater does stuff with a lot of fights, this theater does it, but also so that they see you, even if you're just sitting there being like, I'm with the sword people, like then they're like, oh, she's with the sword people, which is great.
Tall sword girl.
Yeah, exactly. So then you kind of just end up networking around the thing that you're interested in, which goes with that whole thing, whatever you end up being interested in. So that's like step one. And then I would also say like, you know, just practicing with friends, like finding friends that also like to do this and like going in a
Filming shit.
corner and filming shit and like whatever you want to do, doing that. Oh yeah, no, hell yes. And then, you know, choreographing stuff for your friends once you feel like comfortable and you're like, okay, I got a robust set of skills. And the biggest thing is always like, I feel like I can keep people safe at this point, and I think that's the biggest way to go. And then kind of going from there and building that up. Yeah, and I would say too, like, putting on your special skills. If you're like, I want to be in plays where I fight people, like, put the first thing on your special skills. Like, these are the weapons that I do. Like, make a whole little section for it if you want, because that's what I did. And like, the more that you can make it the biggest part of real estate of your special skills, the more people go, oh, they really like fighting. Wow, okay. Yeah, those would be my biggest things. If you want to do stunts, that's like another side of things too. Like for film. Like for film, if you do gymnastics, they would love you. So like definitely would look into that. And that's just finding stunt trainings. If you want to get my email after this, I can help you find some folks. And Actors Gym is a great place to go sometimes. They're expensive though, so like you know I would think about that too. Winter Wonderland, yes, also a great place to meet people. Like go for the networking alone. Like that's a great place to go. So yeah.
Nice, thank you so much.
Oh my God, anytime. Yeah, absolutely.
Really good at the falling part, not so good at the sword fighting part, but you know.
Oh my God, falling is great. Falling is all you need to stunts. Like the swords has been less useful on that side. Yeah.
I'm just gonna write down sword caddy and we're gonna work from there.
Beautiful. Love it.
Hey, Lily, I know somebody who went to a stunt school in LA for 6 weeks. I can see which one they went to.
Yeah.
There's one in Seattle too. International Stunt School in Seattle, also great.
Now the thing about LA, I live in California, so I'm not too far from LA.
Beautiful.
There you
And I came out here for summer, I don't know, I like the cold.
Oh yeah, no, Chicago's great. Yeah, absolutely.
Are you in the stage combat program? Stage combat humans?
Oh, I haven't gotten to take those classes yet because I just got into the BFA program and, you know, other
Gotcha.
classes have come first. But I'm very excited for next year, which will be full of stage combat.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Absolutely.
I have a question. So, do your agents send you both stage and film things?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, usually they'll rep you across both of those, and sometimes they'll be like, and you can audition for our voiceover people, and then they'll either say yes or no on
The
that.
voiceover is the best.
Yeah.
Take a voiceover class,
Yes.
do it, get your mic.
Yeah,
The radio pays well,
very well.
and it's like very fun to do.
Also, if you've never heard of acx.com, you can, if you get a good mic, even if it's a pretty good mic, like in a closet full of clothes, you can do audiobooks and make money doing that. And it takes a little bit to get started, but once you do, you can make a pretty steady income doing that, which is lovely. It's not my bag, I'm too extroverted, but.
Yeah, that's my problem. I get lonely with the clothes, and I was in the closet for so many years.
I love that, that's amazing.
Yeah, I believe that whenever I signed with my agents, they asked me what I'd be interested in throughout the fields, and that's when it was kind of like a check a box sort of thing. I
Totally.
think I checked every box.
Yeah,
Here we are. So yeah.
love it.
Do you guys have websites? Sorry.
Oh.
I didn't raise my hand.
Yes.
No,
Do you have websites?
I don't.
Yeah.
I recently made mine. I recommend it because it's a good like landing page for people to find you. If they're like, oh, who is that random tall sword girl? Then they can Google you, which is great. Yeah, and one thing that I did when I was first making my website was just do a Tumblr site, and then just buy a domain and plug it into that, which was like a lot cheaper. But then when you're ready to like spring in the businessy sense, you can get like a Squarespace or a Wix.
Yeah.
That's what I do too.
It's a nice thing to throw at the bottom of an email also, because even if they don't click it, if they do, or if they see it, they're like, what does this person look like? Click, there you are. That's my face. You know, here's a little bit about me. You know, and also like I think back to the point of like being a good person, a person that people want to work with. Getting to know you, you know, it's not always, it doesn't have to be like, here's all my work and here's all production photos. It could be like, oh yeah, this is another thing I like to do that has nothing to do with theater or nothing to do with music or whatever it is, you know, just a little bit more about you, just so they can get an idea of who they'd be working with. Everybody, yeah.
I am a human person.
I'm a human person. I'm not just yeah.
I should have a website, but I don't have one. I use my Instagram a lot. I mean,
Yes.
not that I have many followers at all, but my shameless self-promotion happens through my Instagram. And sometimes that works, and you'll get someone who'll be like, hey, like, I'm filming this thing, saw you in this thing, would you like to work on this other thing? And sometimes you get creeps, and those you ignore and block.
Yeah, Instagram has been surprisingly helpful.
Yeah.
Shameless self-promotion, also highly recommend. Don't be
Yeah.
shy. People, it won't be as annoying as you think it will.
No,
At
just
least from my
post it.
experience, yeah.
Just
I have
post
a
it.
follow-up question.
Yeah.
So do you think it's like worth it to have like a professional Instagram where you kind of focus on just your career and you just like really?
Totally. Yeah, I would say so.
I think so. I'm using the same one that I used as my regular person Instagram, but it's just sort of slowly transformed into I only post work that I do because my life is not interesting.
Same.
My life is work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would say so. I would say you could even choose one or the other, and then eventually maybe try to do both.
Yeah.
But it's a lot to manage, so
Yeah.
starting with one is good.
I think you had a question earlier.
I was just wondering what prompted your move to LA, and like how did you know it was the right choice for you?
Good question. I think it was definitely the like expanding into multiple markets thing. And I also had a professor in college say to me when I was graduating, which I really like this quote. He was like, what did he say? Now I can't remember. Or he said, choose a place to live that you are happy when you are not working, when you don't have a project. And I was like, that's awesome. Yeah, and I grew up here and I love Chicago with all my heart, but I was like, I started to feel like, when I'm not working, I'm kind of sad with the seasonal depression. And that was just me personally. And so I was like, if I'm gonna expand into another market, I want it to be LA for like personal spoony reasons, and also for being interested in action films and things like that. And also, I've noticed that if people have more film credits, sometimes it's easier for them to get theater work because it's perceived in some sort of fancy way, even though it's not necessarily more or less fancy. It's just kind of something I've noticed. So I was like, okay, maybe if I can get some cred on the film side of things, that'll also make it easier for me to get more theater jobs. And then, all of it'll just build off each other into a monstrous storm of acting. And so it was that's the big thing. I kind of have like big ideas about the kind of films that I'd like to be in, and I think that some of the feeling that I was having here was like it's hard to get in some of those films if you're based here. Or if you haven't spent some time based there, so you can get to know the network there, get to know people like that you interact with on a personal level, so they can know like you're not a jerk, you show up on time, those kind of things. And so that was another big reason too. And in terms of like knowing it was the right thing, I think I just like felt like I was like, okay, this feels right. But in terms of timing, it was like I just gotta go for it. I think I'm just like a collection of things other people have said to me, but somebody else was like, there's never gonna be a right time to make a leap like that. Whether it's, moving to LA, moving up to Stratford to try to be in Stratford Festival, whether it's, going to grad school, whatever that is. I think just being like, okay, I don't know that I'm totally ready for this, but I will figure it out on the way. And that doesn't mean I didn't like save money and do all those logical things, but it was definitely a thing where I was like, nobody's giving me permission to move to LA. And it was kind of scary too, because I was like, a lot of things I've done have felt like I had to wait for permission. And this was just something that I was like, I'm gonna give myself permission, and I'm just gonna go. So, yeah.
Good for you.
It was terrifying.
Yeah, that's so scary.
It was so
You
scary.
did it.
You all mentioned self-promotion on social media. I was wondering if you could just speak more to what that sort of looks like, or just elaborate on that.
Oh, I can begin. You looked at me.
Social media. please.
Social media. Okay, so for me, how it started was like, I'm in this show. People that follow me, come see it. I'm guilting you. So that's how it began. And, sometimes it works, sometimes it really, really doesn't, and that's fine. But it's also a good way to show, hey, I'm working on something. I will say it's really easy to, look at someone posting something on social media and feel like they're working a lot and doing so many cool things that you're not doing. Don't do that. Just, it's more so about just getting yourself comfortable with sharing what you are working on. Maybe you'll have some friends who you haven't seen in a while who'll be like, hey, oh my gosh, you're in this show. I had no idea. I'm gonna go see it. So it started with that, and the more film stuff that I did, because the people that I work with do very artsy stuff that looks really cool. I was like, this is cool. I'm posting it, and they post multiple times a day everything. So that just made me feel more comfortable to just be like, hey, I filmed this thing that's cool. Hey, this thing won an award. It's the same thing. Hey, here's another thing from the same thing. And sometimes it's a good way to, for someone else that doesn't know you, to look at yourself doing work, especially with film. You don't know how you're gonna read when you're on camera, so it's nice for people to have a place to see, oh, this is how this person reads on camera. Wow, she's short. I don't know, or whatever it is that they think. So that's kind of been. I'm not gonna tell you that it's gonna change your world or anything like that, but I think it's a good extra tool.
Oh, she has the best docs ever.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't hate social media. It's not my favorite though. I've never been I'm gonna post every day, that type of person. Honestly, if I wasn't an actor, I'd try to delete it, but here we are. But I think that kind of the point where you're saying of posting things that you're proud of, and that you're like, hey, I did this on my own, and I think it's cool, and I'm gonna post it, and then tagging people who you worked with. Whenever I'm doing a film or a show or whatever, and I'm a grandpa, so I like to take pictures, behind the scenes and all that. So I'm like, oh, I'll post this, and then I'll tag this person, and then they'll repost it, and then their people will see it too, and that's a different way of networking and reaching out and just kind of spiderwebbing that thing,
Such a good point.
Tagging people is pretty big,
Yeah.
and they probably want to be tagged too, if they're cameoed in a shot or something. But I think that I've always enjoyed seeing behind the scenes stuff of projects and whatnot, so I try to do that whenever I'm on a project. And then I think definitely things that you're proud of, throw them out there. Me and my buddy, my roommate, we did short films this summer or last summer during the pandemic, and there were little small 10-minute short films. We did 10 of them, and they were 10-second horror films. And so every time one came out per week, yeah, right? And we just posted them every time and tagged each other, people we worked with, and just got out there. And I don't know who saw it, whatever, but it feels good to do that, so.
People keep seeing it too. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Because it's there forever.
Exactly, it's there forever, and it's and then bringing it out, being methodical about how you do things. Every week we're gonna post something, so every week something's gonna get blasted out there, and every week it might reach to somebody new. Just thinking about it that way. But again, I don't like social media, so I only do it the way that I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
For my own sanity. So.
I have a question. When you guys were in college, because I remember we got someone, a casting director came to speak with us, and they were like, people are getting cast based on how many followers they have on social media. And with TikTok and stuff like that being a thing, and I think we've all seen TikTok stars get cast in things,
Yeah.
and rue the day. But was that something that you guys heard when you were graduating? Like, oh, you have to like watch your follower account, and like if you do,
I definitely did. Yeah, I not to like you have to, but
Right.
like I heard it enough to where it was like, dang, I should be watching how many followers I have. But
I haven't found that to be true.
no, I
I
haven't
don't
found it to be
think
true
so
either.
I really haven't.
No, I do know that like a lot, like Euphoria, the show that's out popular right now. A lot of those people who were cast, some of the castmates are just regular people, not necessarily actors. So that may be a thing, but I've never really found that how many followers, at least not yet.
Yeah.
not unless you have a bajillion
Yeah.
followers.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's not something to strive for.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't think it necessarily gives you longevity
No.
either. Like I think that a lot of times when you see famous actors, or not even famous actors, but kind of famous actors that like have a lot of followers, it's not they're famous because they have those followers or have had success because they have those followers. A lot of times it's the other way around.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, they happen to have followers because people saw them in that Netflix show or whatever. So it's not something where it's like you have to keep building your follower account until they'll cast you in something. A lot of times it's just like, oh, they have that many followers because they got cast in that thing,
And it's almost like, it almost sounds like a shortcut to me. Like, I'd rather get work and book work based on the work I do more than, how many followers I have, and obviously if somebody casts me based on the followers I have, I'd probably take it. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, as an artist, I'd rather my art be the thing that brings me into the room rather than how many followers I have.
Well, especially if you don't like social media, I also have a complex relationship with it, and it's not worth it you trying to put so much effort into that if it's gonna take something away from your soul.
Yeah, whatever makes you happy about it. Like, I like that you can get some control over what is put out there about you. And like for me, it's like I come across like, hi guys, how's it going? La la la. And like, if I wasn't wearing these giant sword earrings, you might, and hadn't been talking about it for half an hour, you wouldn't know that like that's the kind of thing I like to do. So it's kind of my way of being like, look at that bad, like having pictures that like demonstrate what I want to be cast as or like how I want to put myself out there. Like that's where I get to control that, and like there or on a website, whatever is like most helpful to you. It could be Twitter. Like Twitter's not very fun anymore, but like it could be TikTok too. Like just wherever you can put out there, like this is who I am as an artist, as a person. Like this is where you can find me now, which is cool. Yeah.
Nice. To jump off that, also cool socks game. Mine say less bullshit, more feminism. I'm very proud of that.
I like
love
those.
that.
I'd say true crime.
With the heart. That's adorable.
God, perfect. It's perfect. Okay. Yeah, jumping off the social media thing, because I also have a complex. I haven't had a social media account since I was 15. I'm genuinely I'm not hard to find online if you know my full name, but my full name is French and very hard to spell. You can spell it, no one else. Yeah. But so I hear a lot. I never heard the followers thing. I'm glad that was disproven the second it entered my psyche, because I could have stressed about that shit for years.
Don't worry about it.
Well, I should probably make an account at this point, right?
Or a website. Just
website.
somewhere where people can find you and be like, oh, that's who you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that's fine. Just somewhere for people to find you and to see your face, see your body doing things and reading lines and being like, "Hi, yes, perfect."
Yeah, I think that social media is the easy way to do it these days, and that's why it's being used, and everybody uses it, so it's like that. But I mean, first of all, props to you for not having social media. Like, I don't know how you do. I wish I could do
Saves
that.
me a ton of time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh,
But
gosh.
like, yeah, I it's just the easy way of doing it now because everybody's on it. So, but yeah, there's many other ways to do it, like a website, like networking. Even if you're a master networker, you don't need an Instagram. So, yeah.
Your profile on Backstage, you can upload reels to that. Just be like, "Here's my Backstage profile."
Even as I nod, it's making noise.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions from our fabulous studio audience?
Oh, I have one thing to say though, just for your own personal confidence. Even before the sword earrings, I would have fully guessed that you were a sword.
Yes,
You're
honored, so honored.
I'm sure your belt is thicker than my neck. You're obviously.
Yes! Oh, I've achieved my final form. Thank you.
I'm stealing the water.
Cool. Let's give a round of applause.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you for being here.
Super helpful to hear all this stuff because right. I mean, the thing that I'm hearing is that thing that's certainly been my experience too, right? From just having been doing this for a long time is you just want to keep working,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
So it's, and yeah, I mean, definitely things shift through your life, right? As things happen, as you have children or as you, right? All those things and your spoons change, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Radically with those kinds of changes
Yeah.
in life, for sure. But it's sort of not different.
Yeah,
Right, you're still making decisions based on your capacity and what feeds you artistically and how that may change over the course of the year of your life, right? And some things that you did do a while ago and then like you didn't do because they didn't feed you, and then you fall back into them and you're like, oh, I missed this. This is great, right? So it really is like this lovely life to live, right? And so yeah, just hearing, right, like you've been doing this for 3-4 years now, right?
right.
That's exactly it. Like that's what a life in this business is. And it just keeps going, right? And hopefully you build more, whatever, right? So financial stability in it for sure, right? And create work that you love. But even that, right? I was with Plasticine for 17 years and we built an incredible body of work, and then our lives changed and it's done. So you leave that behind and you move on to other stuff. So.
Yeah.
So it's it's good. It's a good life. So it's nice to hear the leap in.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Yeah. So thanks so much for sure.
Thank
you.
you,
Let's all
Brian.
go eat some pizza.
Woo!